Hello everyone, welcome back to the People of Interest podcast. This is episode number 6. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. This is before I let him introduce himself. Just want to kind of make him aware today's like a very selflessly, or should I say, a very selfish podcast today for myself, just because I wanted to kind of sit down and have a chat with you for quite a while based on what it is you do and what you've done. Just for any of you podcast purists listening in today, we are shooting live at Brunel indoor sports facility today, so there are going to be a few claps and bangs in the background, so please don't hate me for that. But anyway, so would you like me to introduce you or
introduce away?
Okay,
yeah,
so
you're gonna say about
yeah. So my guest today is a Olympian, British champion in the sport of athletics. Main event 200, 200?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah. So main event 200 metres. Some of you might know him outside of the track and field network. Some of you might know him more famously for the athlete who had set himself onto eBay in 2011 and also had his motorbike crash in 2017. So I guess with the People of Interest podcast, James, what we do, or what I've kind of aimed to do, is give the individuals who come on that time to take themselves out of just that athlete or that significant individual within society bracket. Because I think obviously for ourselves as people that maybe watch the sport or are fans of the sport, we are quite selfish in just seeing you as like an athlete, whereas, you know, when you're away from the cameras, away from the track, you are your own individual as well. You have like friends, family, and just someone else who navigates kind of life as a whole. So before I guess we go into maybe having a chat about just your career, how are you? How are things?
Yeah, things are all right. I'm doing okay. Every day's still a bit of a struggle with my body in terms of the injuries I had from the crash, but other than that, life outside of athletics and sport is good. Good.
Amazing. I wanted to go through with you to begin with today, because again, just giving you the opportunity to just be a human being for once rather than an athlete, because again, I know this is maybe just a very familiar setting for you, you know, having a mic in front of you and cameras as well. I wanted to ask you more specifically, going back maybe first time, you know, stepping foot onto an athletics track. When was that for you?
God, that was years ago, probably when I was around 10 or 11. And I would have been locally, I would have been Ladywell in Catford, where I grew up. So that was the first kind of place I stepped on the track and actually felt the tartan under my shoes.
Yeah. What kind of got you into that? Was it just being seen by like a teacher at school?
Nah, it was like from a kid. Like my mum was a big athletics fan, and I always remember seeing athletics on the TV in my house and stuff, and following Olympian Christie and people like that growing up on the TV. It was just something that I was always attracted to. And then luckily for me, when I went into school, like nursery, infants, as young as that, I realised I was pretty fast. And because it was something I was good at, and obviously like kids, if you discover something that you're good at, you enjoy it and you stick to it. And it grew from there.
Yeah, okay. Is there, did you do any other sports in between that? Or was it
I did. I played rugby at my school for a bit, secondary school, but that was because I was fast.
You Sticking on the wing and just there.
Put James on the wing, so I played a few games of that. But it was kind of, I don't know, the rugby culture for me when I was younger was a bit, I wasn't really into the rugby thing, so I was like, let me go the athletics route.
No, I don't blame you on that one. Some of the stories and just the images of uni going back to the rugby boys fan,
mad.
Whatever they get into is just up to them. Cool. Okay, and then just moving in then. So if you don't mind, what I did want to do is just kind of, I'm going to list out. Obviously, I went on Power of 10 this morning, had a look through, just to kind of give everyone a bit of an understanding of what you have achieved within the sport. And I've not gone through every single one, just the ones that we've gone. So going backwards from most recent, so 2016, 4x100 metre gold European Championships, made the Olympic team as well, 4x100 quartet. 2014, qualified for European and Commonwealth Games, making both semi-finals in the two. 2015, World Champs team for the quartet 4x1. 2013 World Champs, 200 semi-final made it, and 4x100 team. London 2012 as well, which we'll get into. for the 2011 World Champs 200, and then domestically 2016 100 silver, 2015 British Champs 200 bronze. Sorry, the 100 silver was British Champs as well. Everybody, apologise. 2014 was British Champs 200 bronze and 100 semi-final. 2013 British Champs 200 gold. 2012 gold with British Champs and also British University Championships 100 gold. And 2011 200 silver. So you're not bad.
I'm alright.
Yeah,
I'm not bad there. Yeah.
Just kind of, I guess, going into, 2011 then, if we could, coming off of that and finding out the news, I guess, if we could you give the listeners like an understanding of what basically funding means within track and field? Because obviously we could talk about it forever, but in terms of the people that don't understand.
So basically, funding within British athletics and track and field in this country, you have like a criteria, A, B, C or D, which is development funding. Going into 2011, I was not on any funding whatsoever, despite showing massive potential the year before in 2010. So to kind of put it into context of what you're looking at is like basically it's the difference between you not kind of having to work and then kind of being able to train full time as a professional athlete. So going from 2011 into 2012, I was part time. I was still coaching kids to make ends meet, and it weren't really for me. It weren't really feasible because I was thinking, right, I'm on my feet pretty much every other day, and then I'm training to try and make the Olympic team next year. And all my competitors at the time they was all sponsored. They all had funding, and so I was thinking, you know what? Obviously they've got an advantage. And that's kind of where I came up with the whole eBay thing. So it stemmed from not having funding and being able to kind of generate an income for myself that I could actually focus full time on training.
And just for context, like that generation, I guess that you were a part of was like Bolt, Gay, Johan.
Yeah.
Big names like within that as well. So to have to not only fund yourself by the sport, but obviously the standard of competitor that you're in with the generation as well was
it was ridiculous, man. That's the golden era of sprinting, and I'm not being biased because I was there, but you had the fastest man in the world, second and third fastest and fourth fastest men of all time in that era. So yeah, it was a crazy place to be, crazy time to run, and maybe if I was in a different era, my name might be a bit bigger.
I'd say, to still though, going through obviously what you have achieved still is still pretty massive. I think as you said, that generation, if anything, although it wasn't, specifically maybe wasn't the GB athletes at the time knocking on that door, that was, we were still having to set standards to be competitive in those kind of competitions anyway, because the qualifying standards change every year. For you to still have, still achieve some of those still is pretty big.
Yeah, no, it was tough, and again with kind of the British Championships, and I don't know if you want to go into the politics of the sport in this country, but I was always an athlete that's had to turn up and run. There's always kind of been athletes that haven't really had to turn up if they're not in shape or if they're injured. So every kind of placement I've been on the team, I've genuinely earned it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whether or not when I got to that championships I competed, that's a different story. But getting there was probably the hardest task.
I think just if you're happy to, again, we don't have to touch on that because, again, I don't want to get you in trouble in any way, shape or form. But I think for the sake of, again, going back to this point of, because, us as individuals who are not so attuned into track and field, just seeing you on the telly may have them think, he is one of the top and supported quite nicely.
Yeah.
Not trying to get you in any trouble. Could we dive into just that difference? Do you have to do that? So again then, so from your perspective, with having to just fight tooth and nail to get in rather than certain individuals already maybe being on the flight months before the trials or anything's taken place, how is it just navigating that as well as not being kind of, I guess, funded by the people that you're representing each of these majors?
It was difficult, but I just had to kind of believe in myself and stick to my guns. I think even when I was on the funding program and I was part of the system and all the rest of it, it still wasn't balanced and fair. which I don't want to sound like I'm whining, but it's just the harsh reality of it. You know, it probably still goes on now. I don't know because I'm not part of it, but at the time when I was on the team every year, I mean, I ruffled a lot of feathers because I always spoke my mind and all the rest of it. But I'm not one of these people that's just going to sit back and just roll over and see something being done wrong and not say nothing, even if it does affect me. Because to be honest, most of the time I could have just shut my mouth and it probably would put me in a better position. But that's not me, man. I can't sit there and watch that and happen and not say nothing. So it landed me in a bit of trouble quite often, but I didn't care.
Better position, do you think, is that just financially, or do you think your own performance with that?
No, performance-wise, that was always kind of tuned in with me. That was down to me. But I think, I mean, early on, when probably I'd say between 2012 to about 2015, financially. 2016, I was about to start earning something big though. Because I started running quick, right? But 2012 to 2015, I could have been a yes man. I could have kissed the right arses. But I'm not into that. Like if you're the, I don't know, for example, representative of a certain brand in the sport and everyone's kissing your ass because they want to get a contract, I'm not like that. If you're a cool person, we can get on. But if you're an idiot, I don't care who you are. Which, again, played a big role in me not having contracts early on. So,
Okay. Would you, again, hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? Would you change that?
No.
Because, again, it doesn't sound like you've changed that as a person anyway, but...
No, I wouldn't change it. No way. No. I can leave this sport and say, right, I've kept my integrity. I haven't bent to the will of money or sponsors or whatever the case may be. And everybody in the sport knows that. So
again, I guess a lot of, as you say, a lot of people would know just within that circle. But again, I think the final thing with athletics is that, particularly with our sport, just from a televised position, is that it's every 2 to 4 years things will come round for us as a sport, just with the Olympic cycle. And then otherwise, I don't think a lot of people really see the hard graft that goes into like the winters and then the summers and then the winters over and over again. And I guess through no fault of like the BBC's kind of development of things, but again, obviously the pundits talk in Olympic cycles, reflecting on previous Olympics to now, and then everything that goes on in between that. In your story is probably massive for that. Is just it's very unheard of unless it's the small. Well, I say small, that the niche thing of throwing yourself on eBay gets you that kind of attention's the wrong word. 'Cause obviously you weren't attention seeking. It was just making it very obvious of how unrepresented some individuals can be within the sport.
No, exactly, and it was something that I had to do. I needed to get that attention to get the funding. You know what I mean? So it's like it went against everything. In terms of, I don't really care about attention and stuff like that. I just like to be recognised for what I'm good at or achievements, but I don't want extra attention for no reason. But the only way to get, like you said, sponsorship and exposure is they want to give you a contract because you've got attention on you. So
did that kind of knee jerk and jumpstart British Athletics come? What happened? Did you get then support from British Athletics, or was it a private sponsor that you got from?
So I was actually 2012. I think that I was on. I can't remember. I think I was on C funding maybe from British Athletics, because the year before I went to Daegu for the World Championships. So I was kind of part of the relay setup. And then the eBay thing, I got it was a private sponsor. It was a shaving company called King of Shave. So it was. I had a good year that year.
And but nothing more from British Athletics after putting yourself out there, or
no, they just stayed the same. After 2012, I think, did they keep me on? I think they kept. I think I was on funding every year from there. All the way up until the crash, I was on funding every year. So once I'd made that team in 2011, I was on the team every year without fail.
Was there any kind of acknowledgement of, sorry, James, or?
What do you mean?
Like just did that delay of just kind of putting you back on, because they're not
going to say that. They don't. Again, this is kind of the sad thing about me coming back. I think as soon as I had the crash, I know we'll skip to that in a bit, but just to kind of highlight it, as soon as I crashed, I'd earned my funding from the previous year for 2017. So once I'd crashed, I was on funding, right? But as soon as that year was done, they was like, right, he's off funding. Like there was no. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't go into it because they.
Yeah, no,
but they just basically ripped me off. They didn't think I was coming back. So when I did come back, like in terms of being able to run again, going into my first Diamond League, it was in the Olympic Stadium, and it was kind of like I went in no shape. I ran 10.9, but I was still had a smashed to piece hip. Yeah. There was no acknowledgement of that. And I'm thinking, hold on.
Yeah.
You could have run with this, actually. You could have been like, right, one of our great athletes was in our team for so long.
Yeah.
He's like, they ignored it. And actually, if we want to really go deep, this isn't exclusive, I had a word from somebody high up in British athletics actually told them not to let me run.
Okay.
Which proper annoyed me.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, no, not only, of course, one thing you don't want to support me because you wrote me off so you feel embarrassed. But it's another thing to actively go against me and try not to let me get into a Diamond League because it's going to be egg on your face because you wrote me off. So, yeah, mate.
How you picked up on that point, actually, of just, using just what you've done. I mean, to be fair, we'll go into, I think, the nature of the crash in a bit anyway, just to give people context of how amazing it was that you've managed to pull fucking sub 11 out your ass. But as you say, to not use that, because in sport, like outside of sport and performance, I think sport lives off stories and narratives and like these amazing kind of comebacks and things like that. And your career, if you don't mind me saying, has not been linear, if that makes sense. Like always there's that up and down, but it's it is usually on an up projectile. Yours as was going and then eBay funding and then up again and then the crash and then shit, I'm back, like spiking up and down consistently. And what for you just to keep coming back from these things, because I know I've read up a few interviews that you've done, but just kind of getting it with ourselves as well. Why? Because most people would just ask, James, why are you bothering? Particularly with the nature of not getting the support from the federation and your British Athletics, but also just in yourself as well. What kind of kept you going?
I'd probably say it's just because of what I've wanted to always do. And because I always knew my potential. That's kind of that's what kept me going. I'm not like one of these people that believes in something if I don't genuinely feel it. Because I'll be the first to say something like, listen, bruv, it's not your thing, man, just allow it, innit? Yeah. Because I'm not out here to just take part. As much as I love the sport, I enjoy competing at a high level. And I actually enjoy when the odds and it's against you, it's harder. If it was easy, then I probably would fall out of it. Yeah. So that's what kept me going. That's pretty much it. And the sad thing is, like you said, my career was always like a slow build and then drop, slow build, and building up to when I crashed. I come off the back of my best season I'd ever had. I ran six PBs. I changed events that year. And everyone was banging on about the potential he's got in 100 metres because I was a 200-metre runner. So it was just another one of those things, man. But again, outside of athletics, I think everything around my life has been kind of what's prepared me for setbacks and failures and determination to keep going.
Could we go into detail of what, just an example of some of those things are?
Or I mean, my life hasn't been plain sailing. I've never had anything easy, which... When you're a kid, at the time you want everything, but again, I think it pays dividends in the future if you've never had it easy. So, never kind of. I had a normal upbringing. I was on a normal kind of council estate in Lewisham, and I just had to work for anything that I've had, and I've never had anything given to me on a plate. So, kind of going into the setup of athletics, and still not being given on anything on the plate. It didn't really kind of hinder me. It annoyed me because they was doing it for certain other athletes, but for me I was like, all right, cool, I'm prepared for this. So all these setbacks kind of building up to the crash, I think they prepared me psychologically to be able to deal with that kind of crazy incident.
How do you think, just out of interest, I mean, because based on that point, because I think I'm the same with things, it's just in terms of you know, that just from my own personal perspective, like I was brought up by my mum, like she was a single mum and stuff, and I have a good relationship with my dad. Her relationship with him is great as well. But just as you say, like there's those things where maybe you'd reflect on in your life when you were younger that maybe your peers at that age as well were like having trouble with, but because your situation's just that, I'm not making it a competition, but a bit more raw and difficult. Maybe the things that they're worried about, it just doesn't phase you.
Yeah,
at all.
no, that's exactly it.
Yeah, let's say, you know, in an ideal world, if you were given just maybe everything from just a funding perspective, anything else went your way, do you think that would have been actually quite difficult then to be all of a sudden, oh shit, like, do you know what I mean? Like just to have that all of a sudden, because I spoke to Dwayne a few weeks back about that as well.
Yeah.
And again, you know, he mentioned just the childhood that he had growing up, and it was still quite difficult for him. But then he got like everything very quickly, and then do you, just out of your own kind of thought process, how do you think you would have dealt with that if that was the case?
I don't know because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe At the time, if I was like 21 years old and I was a track phenomenon, I got given everything. I don't know. I think that might have been the wrong thing for me. But I don't think it would have been good, to be honest. I think kind of I was supposed to go through like hurdles and barriers.
Would you change anything about the controllables that you had? I know we touched on just you as a person, but is there anything that you kind of look back on and thought should have maybe gone left when I went right? Or? Nah,
to be honest, I think because everything that we do in life leads you to the path that you're at now. And the path that I'm on now, I mean, it's not a bad one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, despite everything that's happened, it was, without sounding cliches, it was almost meant to happen. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too like emotionally deep into this, but like, because again, you know, looking at some of the interviews that you've done since like 2011 and also since the crash as well, there's never been much where it's said of how you're feeling. So if I was to ask you kind of yes or no, like, are you happy? And I'm not just talking sport perspective. I just mean like James Ellington, the man, like when everything's kind of away.
Yeah, I think I could probably be happier, but right now I'm not unhappy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So if you're not unhappy, then that's good. You know what I mean. I think there's a lot of people out there that are, with whatever situation, they're probably pretty unhappy right now. Things in our country, in the world, are a bit ski whiffy. You know what I mean. So considering where we are and what I've been through, I'd have to say I'm on the happy side.
Good, no, good to hear. Let's get into 2017 then. So warm weather training. I was out with Nigel on the bike. I want to be one of those people just away from just athletics, maybe just seeing the news headline come up, one of those pessimists or dickheads that would see the headline. And I'm going to ask you, why did you rent out bikes? When you are an individual running at the standard you are, also Nigel as well. I assume maybe there might have been some people that would have gone, well, you know, he needs to be responsible because of what he does. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's already documented in interviews and stuff. Number one, I didn't rent a bike. I was just a passenger. I jumped on the back of a bike. I was offered to go up to the mountain, and being a sensible athlete, because if you ask anyone on the team, I'd always be the guy telling, don't jump across there, you're going to do your ankle in. So I wasn't going up there on no crazy nonsense, you know what I mean? It was just, it was unfortunate because my intentions weren't to do no craziness. It was literally to go as a passenger, see a volcano, and it ended up in a mad accident. So, Would you be happy if I could like read out the injury list? Is that all right? Yeah,
so
that's
I don't
fine.
want to cause you any distress or anything.
No, you can read that out, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, bike crash then. So the injuries were fractured eye socket, fractured and displaced pelvis, broken left ankle, fractured right tibia and fibula, multiple lacerations to head, arms, legs and feet, and losing 6 pints of blood when the average adult has about 10. And
I detached both my adductors as well.
Shit, really?
Yeah, which I didn't even realise at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was so broken up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Is there much recollection or recall off of it?
Not really. In terms of the crash?
Yeah.
No, just I saw headlights, and the next thing I'm on the floor. And then after that, it was just going through hospitals and having operations and, mate, just pain all the time. Pain. Thing is, it was funny because when I was in the ICU in Tenerife, obviously this right leg was basically shattered. So they had like a fixation, it looked like scaffolding around my leg to just hold my leg in place until I got back to the UK. But I don't normally sleep on my back. I normally sleep on my front, right? And I was smashed, tired because obviously the stuff I've been through. So I'm on this bed, my legs like fixed on this pillow. I'm on my back, and it was horrible because for 5 days I couldn't sleep because every time like I'd drift off, I'd twitch, right? But every time I twitched, my leg would move, and I'd like move the bones together, which was the worst pain you can ever imagine. So yeah, it was just, that's all I remember. Pain, going through pain every day, man. Every day. And then I was in hospital in the UK for 3.5 weeks, which was just long, operation after operation. So yeah, it was horrible, man. And
then how do you say to yourself, right, fuck it, that was that, let's just brush down and start to get rehabbed? One, start to get rehabbed as a whole, just to maybe get you back to being like a mere mortal, and then to decide, still some more left in me, so now I just need to get fit competing wise.
Well, straight away I knew time was kind of crucial, so I was like, right, as soon as I can do anything, I need to start moving. So even when I was in hospital, like there's a video when I was balancing on like these little wooden beams, and my leg was in a plaster cast, whatever it was. I couldn't do nothing then, I was just moving. But I knew the longer that I leave it before I start doing anything, that window of being able to get back as an athlete is going to close faster and faster. And yeah, so that was kind of my motivation to just get on, not back on the bike literally, but get back on the bike. And the rehab started from there. It started off being kind of like aqua jogging, stuff like that, to kind of anything I could do with my upper body because my lower body was screwed, literally. And then it was kind of like all the little things that lay, without saying not condescending, lay people would probably just, most people would just sit back. I was like, right. They gave me loads of drugs like cocodamol and stuff because the pain was so bad when I got home. I threw all that away, and like people might think I'm crazy, but in my head I was like, nah, I need to. I don't want to get addicted to drugs. Number one, number two, like I need to kind of. Sounds weird and create a bit sadistic, but I need to go through this process of pain and just embracing the pain, which wasn't nice. And then from there I just kind of started going on. I started doing things earlier than was expected to. I started walking to the train station to get to rehab rather than get the cab, just to kind of get the body moving. And and then once I knew I could jog and stuff, I thought, well, why can't I run? And if I can run, why can't I compete again? And that was genuinely my mindset. I weren't thinking, oh, right, I've got a metal plate in my pelvis and a carbon fibre rod in my leg, which I still have now. I was like, no, I'm gonna get back.
Just going back to kind of, I guess, that sadistic point for individuals that don't understand, like that's part of the process of this kind of sport, even if you're healthy, particularly winter, right? I think, that the definition of insanity is always like, doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results. Outcomes, but I think if some people maybe reflected on or looked at our kind of programs over like a 3-4 year period, they don't necessarily change much. We are coming to these kind of environments doing the same thing over and over, just to maybe grab like a 10th or 1,000th each year in some respects. What's just... Was there any kind of other motivate? Again, I understand, but I think there was just that athlete part of James in there that's like, nah, we're gonna crack on, start moving, start walking. But again, taking that athlete side out of things and just asking you as the man, was there any point in that rehab where it's just like, do you know what, it's just gonna get back to 100% in terms of just daily living,
functionality,
and then leave?
Nah, no way. Because the reason why was because, well, number one, I don't think it's the athlete part of me that saved me. I think it was just me. Okay. Because I think there's plenty of athletes out there who would have just given up as well. being an athlete helped, but I think it's my personality in general. That's why I kind of got to where I got to in the sport, because if you go, I mean, as a youth, I won loads of titles and stuff, but I wasn't the most talented person, but I was definitely the most determined, for sure. I know that for a fact. So that helped get me back. And yeah, I left off when I crashed, I was in the shape of my life. And I come off the back of a 2016 season where I'd run 6 PB, so I was like, nah, man, I need to get back and see what I was going to run, because I know I was due to run something stupid. Definitely going to run something stupid. So I didn't want to just tap out and be like, all right, cool, I haven't fulfilled my potential. I want to at least see if I can try and get back to what I know my potential was way more than we saw. And yeah, so that's what kind of made me push on.
Just now we're in, I guess, like this period now, because again it's all come up to, and when still Googling your name, annoyingly it's either James Ellington who put himself on eBay or James Ellington who has the crash, which is frustrating for me, because usually for people that I have interviewed, they're, again, you know, Dwayne Chambers, the athlete, and things like that, and some other individuals that I've spoken to, it's they've got like this one thing which puts them in a box, but we can quite happily kind of untangle within these interviews and then get the person. For you, it just feels like that it's just these two boxes that we're in, which are quite impossible to remove. Does it feel like that for you as an individual, that, or does it frustrate you that maybe your career is just going to be reflected on by the masses in terms of good athlete, but these things happen to him?
Yes and no. I think the frustrating part of it is because, like I said, 2016 was a good year, and I think actually if I achieved what I definitely believe I could have achieved going forward in 2017 and beyond, those boxes would have been gold medalist, or you know what I'm saying, which I've dreamt of my whole life. But on the other hand, the box of the comeback from the crash and the kind of innovative thinking for the eBay campaign, they're not bad boxes to have either, because again they both kind of stand out from everybody else. Not that I want to stand out, but I don't like to be the same as well. And it kind of, these are things that you can take with you in your future, and you can apply to other things. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that have come off the back of these two boxes, whether it's kind of talking to people about being resourceful and innovative thinking, or whether it's talking about mindset and coming back from a massive setback. These are things that I can carry with me for the rest of life, and they're going to serve me well. So I can't complain, but still it's the thing that gets me is that unfulfilled potential that I haven't got to see yet.
Do you not think, I mean, this is just maybe my way of thinking about things, and, you know, bringing in that blue sky thinking with some situations, but does, in some respects, obviously devastating that we maybe have missed out on what that potential could have been, but does not your recovery from what you went through, is there maybe any kind of resilience to say, actually, what I was set to do or could have done physically if we were healthy has got me back to being just a normal functioning human being again?
And that as well, I think, again, that as well. I think probably that, I don't know, I kind of get on with it. Everyone's like, all right, it's amazing. And I understand it's amazing, right? But obviously, because I'm still on this determination path right now, I haven't got time to sit back and think about what's good and all the rest of it. But yeah, I think maybe down the line I'll look back and I think probably that was more impressive than even actually going and getting a World Championship gold medal in 100 metres. Do you know what I'm saying? Because every athlete, every sprinter that is at that level, 9'9" shape, whatever, right, physically capable, there's many of them that could do that. Yeah, obviously a lot of people don't do it and they get it wrong on the night in the champs, whatever. But if they get it right, they can do that. I don't believe, this is going to sound so flipping egotistical now, but I don't believe there's many of those athletes that could have won a World Championship gold could have come back from what I come back from. Right, so I'd probably look back in the future and go, yeah, this is probably maybe it's more impressive than getting a gold medal. You know what I mean? But obviously inside of me, I just want to
understandably, but that's what we get into the sport to do, right? If you're starting to knock on the door of qualifying standards, you're picking up vests, you know, we're flying across the world to compete in like Olympic stage, world champion stage. You're not wrong to be thinking medal time. That's what, you know, I guess that's what we all do. I don't think you would ever find, or one athlete would admit that they ended up being international athletes just on a bit of luck, drive to be the best.
Exactly, yeah.
You mentioned just going into that you're in a period of your life now where it's kind of resourcefulness and determinedness. So again, because just as a sport, I guess we're not as out there on the TV week by week as like the Premier League would be and stuff like that. Can I, if it's not too much kind of invasive, can I ask what that is now? Like what?
Yeah, well, right now, I'm still currently training. And outside of sport, like you saw me the other day, I was coaching a kid down at the track. So I do bits and pieces like that. I do talks. So I done a talk for a company called ACS, private school company, the other day. I do bits and pieces. And like again, maybe this is paid. This is serving me well because I've never had loads of stuff growing up. I'm pretty. I'm balanced with how I live. You know what I mean? So I don't need the most. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a survivor. So that's kind of what I do at the moment. And there's potential for me to go into loads of other things as well. Whether it's, high level coaching. I started a company a few years back, which I'm looking to, once I leave the sport, really push that forward. But again, these things, some of these things, like the coaching stuff, for me now, it sounds crazy because I'm training hard and all the rest of it. But even to this day, functionality, like standing on my feet too long, I start getting pain, man. So like even with that coaching stuff, I'm like, right, cool, I'll be doing that here, but the way I'm coaching, I have to show as well. Yeah. And so it's, I will work it out, but I'm still in pain, so.
How is it just, like, I guess, navigating that sometimes? Because again, I think there's one thing going through something you have done at quite a kind of, I guess, horrendous scale, but then to have that daily reminder of it with those things.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of like frustration and anger around it still? Or?
Yeah, no, frustration for sure, man. Like, I'll be sitting down watching TV and then the right side of my hip is just killing me. Or if I'll be in a car for like more than 45 minutes, I'm in pain and I'm thinking, oh my God. So these are kind of frustrating things for me because number one, I'm an active person. Well, now I'm not even being active and I'm in pain. And then I think, what's the knock-on effect going to be in the future? Like when I'm 50, 60 years old, am I going to be in even worse pain? So we'll see when it comes. But it's frustrating. It's annoying. And they're reminders that actually you still do have kind of a lot of residual things going on from the crash. Even though you see me in the gym, I'm lifting, I'm sprinting. Like around that, it's a lot of pain involved.
I guess like coming home, like how was your competition the other day, by the way? How did you get on?
Terrible. When did I compete? Day before yesterday. So I went to Newham and I ran 10.6 in the first heat. And I was like, right, cool. Second heat, I'll spice it up a bit. Because previously it'd be like, I do one race and that warms you up for your second race, innit? Yeah. Whereas now I've done the first race and then after I felt like I'd done a whole weekend of racing. I was like, oh my, look, my hamstrings were like sore, my hip, my pelt. I was thinking, what? And I pulled out. And it weren't because I'm going to get beaten, because everyone knows that I'm not scared of. I've raced since last year. I ain't won a race. I've won one race, right? So it's nothing to do with getting beaten. That don't mean shit because I know what. If I was in shape, you would be beating me. But it's just the body now. So it's 6 years on now. I'm like, damn. Like, I originally said I was going to come back and make the 2020 team, which I didn't, which I was disappointed with myself. But I'm a realist, innit? So we'll see what happens. If this year, if I don't believe that there's anything I can do for the year, or maybe even going into next year, then I'll knock it on the head.
Yeah. What was the advice or the information given to you when you got back home when you kind of started to become, I guess, aware? Because I'm assuming even out in Tenerife, what was it? Probably just weren't around with the fairies at all, were you? So coming back, having like, you know, the reports of what you've been through, what the doctors and medical staff are seeing. What was the advice or the information given to you about your injuries along with your career?
Yeah, I mean, without them saying it directly to me, I kind of understood your navigation around it. It was basically I was done. I don't think the doctors or the surgeons really thought that I was going to be coming back to any sort of training running, let alone competing. But obviously they don't want to say that to you. And again, kind of the way I was dropped like a sack of potatoes by British athletics as well. They obviously thought I was clearly done, which actually could have made a big difference if they kept me on, man, because it would have given me extra motivation. I would have had the support of the physios and all the rest of it, and I think they could have
just looked after you.
Yeah, it could have got me back way quicker than I've been back, and maybe things could be different now, man. So,
amazing. I just, James, I think like just with regards to going into the information and the kind of topics that you discuss now, if we can, just moving into that, and just what kind of ideas, inspiration, and just like experiences are you putting out in the world now to discuss with people, just from that, you know, those talks and things?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I haven't even pursued that sort of stuff. Like, it's a lot of people reach out to me now to discuss about kind of my situation that I went through, which I'm glad that I can kind of, if I do help or inspire anyone, it's great. That's a nice thing to do. But I just stick to my story, which is real and honest. I've never gone away and sat down and planned, right, this is what I'm going to be doing now, and I want to become a motivational speaker and all the rest of it. And I think the reason why it's building, I'm getting more of this stuff, is because I think people see that I am just speaking honestly. I'm not trying to put no frills around it. Yeah, and it's kind of turned into a new thing, which I enjoy doing, because it's not hard to tell the truth, is it? So yeah, I'm not having to make anything up. Yeah,
and I guess just again from a maybe between, like, from the athlete up there in the clouds perspective versus coming down to earth with you know, us mere mortals around it. It's just, I hope you don't mind me saying, but what you can deliver and give to people now is just so much more realistic.
Yeah.
You know, I think any athlete that goes into motivational speaking or gives their experiences is amazing, but the reason for your trigger of doing it versus theirs, again, it comes from something that I think we're all more susceptible to have to deal with sometime in our life. Someone quite banged up with it, yourself or family member, and just to be like, no, this isn't going to like be my identity. As much as it feels like, you know, unfortunately, just the way, you know, it works with like media and where you were in the sporting position, that it does become your identity. But
yeah, well, I mean, I went into Tottenham Hotspur's academy about 6-7 weeks ago to speak to their under-23 team players, and I was telling them a story, and obviously I was telling them of how I came through and got pretty much near enough right to the top, and then suddenly, boom, everything come crashing down, because most of those players won't go on to play in the Premier League. Like, it's ridiculous, like 0.8% or something, right? It's ridiculous. So, and again, as athletes, we forget ourselves. Like, when you're an athlete, your whole identity is an athlete. Like you said, people see you on the TV, they just talk to you as an athlete, they don't think about you as an outside person. But once your sport's done, man, this is why a lot of sports people go into depression and sadly take their own lives or get into alcohol, drug abuse, or whatever the case may be, is because you've defined yourself your whole career as an athlete. But whether you're a great athlete or not, one day that's going to end, right? And then you're not going to be defined as an athlete anymore. You're going to be a normal, not normal, but you know what I mean. You're not going to be an athlete anymore. So how do you deal with that? And I think for me, having such a kind of abrupt, not a wake-up call, but kind of, I was forced into it. 1 minute, I'm in the shape of my life. Boom, next minute, I'm in a wheelchair. So I had a few years of actually going, raw, I need to kind of identify who I really am, because now I'm not an athlete, I'm in a wheelchair. Like, who am I? So coming back into the sport from that is giving me a whole different perspective. Like, I look at it and I'm like, right, cool, I still love it and I still want to fulfill my potential, but I understand now that when you're in the bubble, it's super important. You know, like, as an athlete, you're like, oh, you had a bad race and you're thinking about it the whole weekend, and you think everyone cares. Nobody cares, man. Like your friends and family, immediate family but really and truly, like, it's not that serious. No one really cares. You know what I mean? So I think me being able to speak to people and letting people know, it's not the be all and end all, man. Like, there's other things out there, and you care more than anybody else. You need to understand that. I speak to athletes at weekend or competitions all the time, and I'm like, oh, how'd your race go? And then they automatically go into this whole, oh, you know, like in the first 30 and da-da-da. And I'm sympathetic, empathetic, because I know what it's like. But at the same time, I don't really care. Like, I'm like, right, okay, yeah, man, all right, cool. Get it right, man. Like, you'll be good, yeah. And I care. Like, okay, they feel bad. Like, I care about them. Like, oh shit, man.
Yeah.
But I don't. After that conversation's done, I'm like, going about my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to be realistic, and that's how I've been. I remember telling people, yeah, man, and oh man, but the trials and first 30, and they're really. They don't care. Do you know what I'm saying? So you just got to be real, man, and it will help you. It might be harsh, but it's the truth.
Just out of interest, and I'm not asking you to stroke my ego here, absolutely, like whatsoever. But again, what I want, or I'm trying to aim to do with the conversations I have, is just remove it from that side of just James Ellington, the athlete. You know, we're doing like 3 hours worth of coverage, and then we won't see him for a couple of months till we have another televised competition. The conversation I'm having with you now is it frustrating to have, like, for someone such as myself to come to you and say, James, right, Bob, I want to do X, Y, and Z, because I hope I try and give the people that I speak to talk on a human level, but obviously the nature of what they do. Yeah,
no, it's not frustrating at all, man. I like to do, like, I've always said to previous people that have interviewed me, or whether it's journalists or whoever, ask me what you want in it. If I don't want to answer it, I just won't answer it. Yeah. But I'm not really. I've never put on a media face for anything, and I think now, like, it's kind of like it's paid off, because now people used to not like me, man. Like, people that knew me liked me, like my friends and family, and people within the team that actually knew me, they liked me. But people say I come across a bit, I don't know, like intimidating or aggressive, which I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what are you talking about? But I understand it. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But it's a bit like Dylan White in boxing. Everyone used to hate Dylan White, and actually, if you look into like Dylan White, everyone loves him now, because you see he's genuine. He's a cool brother. But everyone was up AJ's ass, like, oh, he's the good guy. Let me not say no more. I'm a Dylan White supporter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
it's kind of like that.
It's interesting you say that, though, because again, just from when I was younger, so I must started athletics. When did I start athletics? Like 2009, I think. I started athletics. I would have been like 15, something like that. I think 14, 15. And I'm sure, like, I tweeted you a few times when, like, the indoors were on at Lee Valley, and you'd always reply back.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? So like, it's just you'd always send a message back or just retweet or whatever.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and again, I just from watching the sport as well, that view of what you've mentioned there, what people have, that I've never kind of thought of you having.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one, isn't it? That,
do you know what? So many people follow each other, though, innit? And that's the thing. Like, say you're the same with the tweets and that. I'll try and reply to anyone I can, because that's what I do in real. I don't really separate the two, which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. I don't know, but I don't separate the two. So I have people message me all the time, and I'm like, yeah, man, cool, and they go, I can't believe you replied, and I'm like, why wouldn't I reply for? Like, if you message me, I'm going to reply. But you get a lot of people in sport. They think they're somebody. It goes to their head. And I think, like, and I've checked quite a lot of them, actually. I've told, you're a clown. What are you doing? And they, but I'm like, just be a normal human being. Like, why are you separating it? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it is what it is, man.
It's interesting. You just sound, James, if you don't mind me saying, you just sound like a rebel at heart, mate. which must be an absolute nightmare.
It's horrible in that sport.
Brain ache for I mean, people in sport, but again, I think particularly from just a British athletics thing, and I've got no kind of vested interest in them or whatsoever. I don't know how the things work. I've never got to a level in this sport where I've had to have those kind of conversations. But how it all seems to what you do see and what you do hear on the odd occasion where like news is released or certain athletes have all of a sudden their names dropped off a development program funding on like Power 10 and stuff. Yeah. And then you look at them as a person sometimes you like,
I get it. I know, man. Yeah. If you don't conform, it's going to be hard work for you in that sport, man. In British athletics, man. Like even to the point, there's been mad stories. I remember there was a thing ages ago with me and James DeSolu, and he's cool. I like him a lot, actually. He's a good guy. But we had a bit of it was just track beef. Weren't no beef really. It's just track ball rubbish. And at the time, I was at Loughborough, and he was at Loughborough, but he was like the guy at the time. I remember some nonsense happened between us anyway. It got sorted out. But then later on that year, this is how against me I feel they were, right? Because if I'd say anything, I'd get in trouble for it, which was just honest and real. But then some article come out in, I can't remember what paper it was. Some idiot journalist, he's sacked now, good. But he said something about, I put James DeSolu in a headlock at a competition, right? And it was a total lie. And I was like, huh? So I rang at the time the performance director, who's no longer with us. And I said to him, like, what are you going to do about this, man? Because I just, like I did, I replied on Twitter. Don't talk. And then I got an email from him saying, you can't reply. So I said, but you're not defending me. Some lies coming out in the papers and you're not saying nothing about it. So I have to defend myself. So I can't remember why I went off on this tangent, but yeah.
Just again, it just fascinates me, that again, particularly when you've got like a GB vest on your back, you're representing your country. The bare minimum, it feels like just again being completely ignorant to the fact the bare minimum could just be a statement, just something.
Yeah, nonsense, man. They wanted me out, man. I'll say it straight. I reckon they wanted me out, man. I just think I'm not a headache at all, but for them, I was headache because I didn't comply with what I thought was rubbish, and when things happened, I'd speak out about it, and that's the last thing they wanted me to do, speak out about it. So,
it's just a shame, really, because again, I think the athletes and the sportsmen and women who just love to bits or are great to watch are those individuals that are not rude. They're not horrible or rude. It's just something that's like, no. It's just that, that's rubbish. And that's that. It's like, what was it, Nick Kyrgios, the Australian tennis player. Fantastic. Yeah. Great guy. Just think he's brilliant because it's just, this is crap, you're annoying me. Yeah. No.
Yeah. It's straight. You got to be straight, man. Yeah. And people, the thing is, if you're a straight person, other straight people, like good people in their heads and minds, hearts, whatever, they'll respect it and then they like it. So when I'm kind of like honest about stuff, without being horrible or anything like that, the people that don't take to it, well, I know what kind of person you are then. I'm like, I don't care anyway. I don't care. All the good people, what I perceive as good people like me, and then the other side won't. Simple.
I know we've kind of touched on things already, but I always like to kind of ask my guests, particularly with the stories that they've had and gone through, because again, trying to just get you out of this box of being that individual that happened to. What do you see like future-wise for yourself now? Because
it'll either be some sort of high-level coaching. Not enough high-level coaching in this country, for other sports as well. And probably going into speaking. Some of the events I do, I'm nervous for them because that's not really my thing. But then somehow they always, at the end, everyone's always clapping and coming over and saying it was good. And I'm thinking, I'm not. I feel like a fraud. I'm not supposed to be here. Yeah. But again, maybe that just comes from me just speaking genuinely. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's going to be around those routes. And other than that, I don't know, to be honest. Like, I'm looking forward to just probably just becoming a hippie in the future, man. If I'm being really honest, like just sitting back and chilling.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Was does that? I mean, just for yourself, did you have like? Were you prior to the crash? Was life quite regimented for you? Just that athlete regiment?
Only around only around being an athlete. I was never super kind of stuck in my ways or super regimented. Like I still kind of like 2016 season. Like I tried it a couple of years back when I'd done the diet thing when I was just eating minimum carbs. I was only drinking water. Weren't using any like products with soy in it. I was doing everything just to, you know what I'm saying. Then I was in shape. I was ripped and all the rest of it. But then it's that versus your psychological happiness.
Yeah.
And 2016, I just had a balance, man. I was drinking a couple glasses of red wine a week.
Yeah.
I ate what I wanted within reason. I ain't got a bad diet anyway. I ate a balanced diet. I was just happy, and everything just started happening. I trained hard. But there was still more things that I could have done. There was still like, you see athletes that stay at the track and do everything. There was still bits I could have done, but I think because my mind was in the right place as well, it was a recipe for track success. So I think that's important. I think people get lost in this sport. They think it's the be all and end all, and then, like you said, they're so regimented that they're unhappy. And actually that's going to be a bigger detriment to your performance than slightly not doing everything and actually being happy.
And was that always the case for your athletics, or was that just that 1 year, 2016, where you focused on you and your happiness rather than?
Yeah, no, it was probably that year. I think the years from 2012 until 2015, it was wicked because I was training in Loughborough with a great coach, and we was doing everything by the book, like diet and all the rest of it, but I was happy because I was around good people as well. So it worked because it weren't a detriment to my kind of social well-being. 2015 I had a bad season, and 2015 I was actually focused and I'm going to do this and and it was a poor season. So then coming out of 2015 I was like, nah, whatever, man, watch, I'm just going to be happy. And I changed to the 100. And that was one of my motivations because they tried to cut my funding in 2015, and I had a frank conversation with Neil Black and Stephen Maguire at the time, and I told them what I think of them and what I think of their decision, and I didn't care. I stood by it and I said, all right, I'll watch next year. I'm going to do the 100 metres and you're going to see what happens. And they thought I was just chatting rubbish, and I come out and I punish some people, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
But just what I've asked, I did ask Dwayne this as well, and I do want to ask you. It feels like that once you get to quite a significant level in any sport, that childhood dream of getting there, you achieve it. And I don't want to put numbers in your mouth, so again, please just change it as we go through. But it feels like maybe a few months you're like, shit, I'm here. It's done. Like, I'm happy now, and then it almost feels as if then what comes with that, again, the responsibility of having to be like a role model and things like that you didn't sign up for. Yeah. You're just turning up to this thing that you enjoy and you've loved as a kid, and that's all you want.
Yeah.
And then everything else starts to come along with it.
Yeah.
How did you kind of feel having to all of a sudden? Well, I guess actually you probably didn't buy into it at all. Yeah. So,
that was it. Yeah, I didn't.
So when it was kind of brought to you to say, right, James, now you're doing this.
Yeah.
All of these lovely young children that you're a role model for, and everything else, and this sport and what it means. How did you just feel, just that being put on your plate all of a sudden? Now that you're,
I just didn't feel anything. Lucky enough, when it comes to like children and being a role model, like I'm not stupid. Like I'm around kids and that. I love kids, number one, and I worked with kids, so that was never a minefield for me. I'd just be like, yeah, cool. I'd talk to kids and see them at competitions and take photos and all the rest of it, and fans as well, sign autographs and be polite, because that's just me in general. So that was never something I had to think about, because that's how I am anyway.
Yeah.
If someone talks to me, I'll talk to them. But the stuff that was put on the plate, like you said, like which I weren't expecting, I'm just running, is probably just the internal crap. Just like, or not replying to someone on social media because they're taking a piss. I don't care. You can't say that. I'm like, yes, I can. They talk shit to me, so I talk shit back. You know what I'm saying? Like, but obviously, there's certain things, like in the Olympics 2012, someone was, because I ran crap anyway, in it. But I just kind of got onto it. I didn't really, I just went, oh, whatever. Yeah, I'm on there. And then the media, there was some idiot. My mum gets all passionate. I'm like, listen, just stay out of the athletics competitions, because like, don't say nothing online, because if someone says something to you, you're my mum, and I'm going to take it personally. So just close your mouth. And she's like, oh no, but some guy must have been talking shit about me on Twitter, saying, oh, because I got winged out and I was slow and that, which I don't care about. You can say whatever. But then my mum's replied and said, oh, some crap. And then he's, you must be James's mum then. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I've seen this. So I'm like, all right. Because he said he was in Westfield. This is during the Olympics. It was next to Westfield. So I was like, all right, cool.
Did you go?
Yeah. I said, I'm leaving the village now. Meet me in Westfield now. Yeah. But I'm kind of still not really understanding Twitter. I didn't realise the whole world sees this. Yeah. So I'm like, right, dickhead. So I said, I'll be in my GB kit so you won't miss me. Mate, I was still a bit mad then. So I was thinking, right, I'm going to go to Westfield in my GB kit during the Olympics and confront this idiot. Yeah. Which is just stupid, isn't it, at the time? And I had the media woman, James, what's going on? There's a thing on Twitter, like you're saying you're going to meet some guy to fight. I said, huh? What's the problem? Oh my God. Anyway, I was like, yeah, man, whatever. And I just told him, don't get involved. I went there still. I said, I said, I'm outside Zara or whatever it was. Come meet me, man. Yeah. He didn't turn up.
Of course
but I was like, yeah, clown. So just because I'm an athlete, I don't consider myself anything like in terms of any sort of celebrity at all. If anything, my mind's still just how I was in Lewisham. So even now, like, because that is genuinely how my mind is, and I don't think I'm anything. I know I was a good athlete, and I know I get recognised for being a good athlete, which is lovely, and I appreciate that. But sometimes I still catch myself because obviously how I've grown up. I'll be walking down Oxford Street, some dude will be staring like, like what? Oh, you're the athlete. I'll be like, oh yeah, cool, man. Yeah. But I'm thinking, rah, what was he trying to beef me or something? Like, so I still have to think sometimes.
But you can't. I mean, again, just the environment. Not obviously picking apart your childhood, but just Lewisham as an area, you're gonna have that switch on. You have to.
You have to. Right? Yeah, because you're walking around, and then when you're getting screwed back, it's not because you're an athlete. It's because him. Right, we're gonna try to rob him, or is he from this part? So I'm thinking, right. Yeah. And that's hard to drop that. So sometimes still. Forget. Come on, James. You're an athlete. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why the man's standing there looking at me funny. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool.
But I mean, what athlete? Again, James the athlete has been 14 years of your life, maybe longer than that. Yeah. And then the rest of it has been James the individual who needs to stay safe in Lewisham.
There you go.
Borough of Lewisham.
Exactly. There you go. So it's it's balancing out slowly.
Just again, this is not just a jibe at British athletics. I guess this is just you asking you as a sportsman yourself, and just being in this this kind of environment away from that situation, because again, it's very much like I guess almost like musicians and rappers, right? Like they maybe come from those kind of really low poverty like areas that are full of obviously not full of violence. Some of them full of violence and crime. Of course. And then they shoot up into this like just area that is just completely different. Do you think that maybe just like sporting federations like just need to just do a bit more to just be culturally aware?
Yeah, they do.
Of just the individuals that are coming into their sport and performing.
100%, they do. Because you got especially in something like athletics, you get so much talent from underprivileged environments and areas. And like you said, they're coming from a different culture. Suddenly you're in this kind of middle class environment, which I'm not saying is a bad thing at all, but like you got to understand where people are coming from, man. Like you can't just impose your will of how you should behave. Obviously, if you're acting like an idiot and doing anything, cool, whatever. But there's certain ways some people carry themselves, and it's not because they're being rude or whatever. It's sometimes because they're guarded. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think they need to learn a bit more. and not just kind of put this whole blueprint of, right, this is how it is, and you got to fit into this. You got to kind of, you got to understand people, man. At least try to understand people anyway.
It's quite, because I just think, again, it almost feels as if maybe like the sporting backgrounds and that kind of behaviour that they ask you to atone into is like asking you to really look into the different 50 shades of grey, maybe a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think from the environment that you're from, it's just like, no, it's either this or it's this. Yeah. If it's anything in between, I guess for me, usually, if it was anything in between, I'm staying away from it because I don't know. And if I don't know, that's usually a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, actually. I don't even think it was the problem of... It wasn't even a problem of the way I was in there. I think it was the problem was the way they were, which caused the problem. Because they would do stuff that I didn't agree with. And I'd be like, right, is this what you lot are doing? Like, for example, I don't know if he'll sue me or not, so I'm not going to say his name, but I used to call him Santa Claus, yeah? And anyone in sport knows who I'm talking about. And he used to manage the relay, right? So that's a big indication. He had white hair, right? Anyway, going into 2016, this clown, he was, going from 2015 as well, we had a couple mess-ups in a relay. It was always down to him, because what he was doing was some clown stuff. Like, for example, going into 2016, he was such a coward and scared of all the athletes and wanted to please all the athletes. He'd tell them, right, yeah, you're definitely in the team. You're in the team, and going into the Olympics is going to do this. So he was telling all the athletes, like probably about 8, 9 of us, different combinations that they would be in the team, right? And he'd be sending them mixed messages. Oh, yeah, cool. Right, you're going to be in a team with da-da-da-da. Like, we're not all teammates and we don't talk. Yeah. So we'd be sitting there going, hold on, what? You spoke to him as well? Yeah. He told me I'm going to be in the team passing to him. So it caused this big rift now, because we're like, but I'd be the one that goes to him, like, what are you saying this? What are you saying this stuff for, bro? You're causing problems. Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't. Well, you did, because 4 people got it on their text message. What are you doing? Right? So these things didn't sit right with me, because from where I'm from, that's like some mad behaviour. That's like, what is that? And because I would confront people on this stuff, then there'd be a problem. I'm being difficult, or I'm causing trouble. He told the athletes I was a cancer to the team. And they're not going to tell me. I'm like, that's your role. You're a professional. Don't matter what you think of me, because it's your behaviour anyway. But don't matter what you're telling my teammates I'm a cancer to the team. What? Because I'm standing up and calling you out for your nonsense. So I'd say it was always their behaviour they need to check. I think actually weren't even trying to go back on that, trying to learn other cultures. No, I think their culture is just in general bad.
Even just from a preparation perspective, taking out people's emotions, you lot within the team and having those mixed messages, just from a single preparation perspective for a championship, those mixed messages are probably the last thing you need. The last thing.
The thing, and you got to remember, like a lot of these people are supposed to be leaders, right? Because you're leading, whether you're the head of a relay program or the head performance coach, whatever. You're a leader, right? Now, if you've got any strong characters in your team you're supposed to be leading, right, and you're just showing all this weakness and we lose faith in you, what do you think's going to happen? It's going to fall apart, especially if you're doing that snaky behaviour. So they'd have these people in these roles, and I'm thinking, you're just a coward. I speak to you as well, and you're going red and looking down, and I can't even have a normal conversation with you, bro. Like, what's going on? But then you want to call shots, and then you want to sit there and, get out of here, man. Sorry, I'm running.
No, you're fine. Don't apologise. Again, it's the sorry part of that is a frustration for me hearing you say it, because it's like your experience, isn't it? Like it's just what you've been through, and I think you're entitled to feel obviously the way you do about it. So but no, as I say, it's kind of been and gone, and it's past now. Just looking over like your whole journey, James, because again, it's something that I like to ask people, particularly who are, as you kind of alluded to, maybe just past that peak or towards the end of things, give or take this year. When you look back on just what you've achieved, being probably one of the 0.1% that only ever get to this kind of standard in anything in life, are you going to look back on it with fondness, do you think, or is there going to be mixed emotions? Or
I think it's going to be fondness, to be honest. Despite all those little ups and downs, I think it's going to be fondness. Like, you don't really appreciate certain things until it's a memory, innit? And you think, oh, I wish I could go back. That was sick. At the time, it didn't seem great and whatever, but no, it'll be fondness. Like all those little things that I'm just telling you about. That's in real life that don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? These are just little clowns in the sport that I had to deal with. But yeah, it'll be fondness. It'll be looking back and missing teammates and competitions and training camps and all the rest of it. It'll be, yeah. It's just a shame that the only thing I'd say, I won't say I regret anything. I'm just saying it's a shame that that chunk of 4 or 5 years of what I think I would have done, I'll never get that back. You know what I mean? So,
and again, if you don't want to answer, it's not a problem. Have you got past that yet, or because I think you mentioned earlier, there's going to be bits obviously that we've just put on the back burner for the bit just because it's not worth kind of acknowledging yet. But as a whole, is that still something that, do you think that's going to be the next challenge for James Ellington? Do you think
getting over that missed 4 or 5 years? Probably. I'll still kind of of course. It's because it's something that I was gearing towards for my whole career. So for it to be there taken away, and I'm like, oh, man, it's still. I still think about it. I still think, cool. if I was able to just, you know what I mean. But at the same time, we've got to move forward.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you have not been asked that you wish someone would have done, or had given you the opportunity to kind of verbalise, express up to this point? Because again, it's been so, coming into having this conversation with you, I've found it, as I say, I've wanted to just break you away from all the kind of shit and barriers, not barriers, but boxes that you've been put in. Has there ever been something where you just, I wish I could just say, or just be asked to respond to, or
No, most of the stuff I wanted to say, I've said it at some point in my career, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm an open book. I always say to people, ask me whatever you like. It's like there's a lot of things that people want to ask athletes, but they're kind of like tentative to ask them. So I'd probably say the main one is probably drugs, which I'll speak about that openly. I don't care. What else? I don't know. That's probably the main thing. I think a lot of people, when I speak to people, they kind of want to ask certain things. They don't ask it, and I'm like, just ask it, man. Like,
that's never been a problem for you as an athlete, though, is it?
No, never.
Never had issues.
No, never, ever. Never.
What about then? Okay, let's go swing for the fence then. What is it, or how are you kind of towards the individuals, or how does it impact you when you find out maybe either someone you've competed against, obviously you missed out on because someone's been a sausage and gone and done it, or just someone maybe being in the camp with the team when you're like...
I mean, for me, anyone that I've believed that I've raced against that have ever been on or been caught for it, to be honest, I'll just kind of push that to the side, because number one, I can't control what they do. Number two, I know what I do, and that's be honest and clean living. So I'll always be able to look back at myself and know that everything that I've done or achieved in the sport has been clean, from natural and clean, you know what I mean? So it's weird because, like, for example, Justin Gatlin, everyone makes him the pariah and use him as a scapegoat. And it's funny because of that, everyone sticks away. I always stick up for him, man. Not with the drugs. I agree. Yeah, man's teethed hard. But as a person, he's cool, man. Like, I speak to him all the time, and what you've done in the past, I don't agree with, obviously. But as a person, he's cool, and his thing don't affect me. It don't affect me. I know, like you say, you have a massive wider knock-on effect, and everyone else, of course. But then, well, there's many before him, and there's many whilst he's doing it that don't get mentioned because whatever, right? So. Yeah, I don't agree with it. If it's something that affects me, though, like if I was in a relay team and somebody done it, then there'd be a big problem. And so, it is what it is, man.
Can I ask the question as well? Just again, from it being from actually an athletics perspective, from I guess a funding issue as well, because I asked this with Dwayne as well. I did ask him that if athletes within track and field athletes had the financial backing that footballers had, would that then stop them being more susceptible to doing it? And he said, the more that you get, you'll just want more afterwards, which I think is fair enough. So what I guess I want to ask you is that the individuals that you know of, and we all know of, that have been put out in the news and stuff like that, have done it. Is that, has there ever been an element of you, again, just based on how the funding structure works, and you've been in the situation where you've not had the funding? Is there ever been a part of you where it's like, do you know what, I kind of get it because of that?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's hard. I understand and get it from certain people's point of view, because they're like, well, you know what, I want to do this and I need to make myself as fast as possible and get as much money as I can, whatever. Or I'm not on funding, so I'm just going to take drugs because they're not going to test me and get to the top. I understand what they're saying, but that's for that individual. For me personally, I could never do it, just because I look myself in the mirror and know that I'm a cheater. If it ever came out as well, I'd just be so embarrassed, because do you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, like, listen, it's all good you play a part for everyone else in society, yeah? But if you can't live with yourself for something, that's gonna eat you up, mate. So I couldn't do it personally. I understand why some people do it. I understand the reasoning behind it, but
you yourself,
for me, I'm not on that, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we'll park it there. Yeah, no, cheers, James. Thank you so much for coming, bro. I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that.
No.
They told me to do one at Eton the other day, so I appreciate it.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it.